All right, another Soapbox Sunday here at Blue Glow Electronics, April 19th, 2020. And let's dive right on into what I think will be the hot topic of the day. I have created a thread out on AudioKarma, and I'll put a link to it below, and it is entitled Blue Glow 2020 Amp Build Ideas. Bottom line, I threw a couple ideas out here. I would like to see some discussion going on there around what should our build be for this year. I think I'm going to have time to fit in a single new amp build similar to the 807 series we did or the KT88 series, where I go in depth, step by step by step, 15 video long series type thing. And I've got options here on what we go into, okay? First option I had out here was, I've had it in my head. This is more of a personal thing. It might not fit the masses, but I would like to build a high-end 300B amp. This is probably a $2,500 build. Like to use monolith magnetic transformers, the new Western Electric 300B tubes. Use the old vintage 310A Western Electric driver for that. Some high-end caps, so on and so forth. And if I'm going to go down that path, would you want it to be a stereo chassis? Would you want it to be a monoblock design, okay? All right, so if that's out of everybody's budget, but hey, maybe you don't care about the budget. Maybe you're not going to build this anyway. You just want to see the build, and so you want me to go down this high-end amp route. Or second, maybe you want to build this thing, and maybe the 2,500 build's a little out of your budget right now, although you could use your stimulus check. Any rate, we could target a $1,000 build, which would be, a 300B amp using maybe Hammond or Edcore level transformers. We would use a 6SN7 SRPP driver setup. We'd use some mid-level caps, so on and so forth. It's hard to build a 300B amp much less than about $1,000, and that would likely be a stereo chassis, not a set of monoblocks. Third one here is, we've been talking about it for a while, the budget single-ended amp. This is target $350 or under. Use some generic transformers. It would be a single-ended EL84 or 6BQ5 output tube amplifier. We just use some generic poly caps, orange drops or whatnot. We would be 5 watts a channel. You need some efficient speakers, or maybe this is just something you're going to use in your bedroom or an office setup where large volume isn't required, just a low-level listening background kind of amp, and it's not a throw a house party kind of amp, okay? Or we could go down a budget push-pull amplifier, which we would target about a $550 build. We would use some Edcore transformers. It would be a push-pull EL84 polycaps, etc. Be about 15 to 17 watts a channel. The only downside I see to this is there's a million of them out there. I mean, every Dynaco ST35 fits this build, and you could just go order a Dynaparts kit, set up and build one of those, right? So these are the ideas I've got kicking around in my head right now. Share your thoughts, Just a note, and I'll talk about this more in a minute. If your response is to finish the preamp, it's not happening at this time. I'll explain why here later on in the video. But any rate, any of these striking some resonance? I'll use an electrical term there with you. Are they resonating with you, or do you have something completely different you'd like to see me build? And throw that out here too. We'll kick around the ideas and kind of take it from there. And I'll get designing once I've got this. Once I've got some feedback here over the next few weeks or month or so. All right, next topic. All right, I get a question a lot via email. Hey, Mark, when are you going to finish up the preamp build, Zeus? I'm very interested in it. I want to build it myself, this, that, the other. So a couple things about it. One, I'm not done with it. I've got it. It sounds really good. It's not exactly where I want it at, okay? Two, I want to add a phono stage to it, and I've just not gotten around to that. Got some interesting concepts kicking around on that, but have not gotten there yet. Three, I've been considering when I retire turning this into a commercial product. I think I could build a nice chassis for it, use this whole completed design in it, and sell it as a commercial product. And when I retire, I'm looking to do some of that kind of stuff. And, could be I'll sell it as a kit at that point. You could buy the completed unit, or you could buy it as a kit and build it yourself. I don't know yet, but this is one I've just decided to kind of keep for myself right now until I, one, can get it perfected, two, can get the phono stage in it, and three, decide what I'm going to do with it, if anything, on the commercial side. So stay tuned. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a while on this one. Maybe we'll dream up some other preamp in the meantime and go down a path of building it together. But I wish I had a better news for you, but that's where I'm at with it, and I do apologize if it upsets any of you. It just it's what it has turned into for me. But all right, next topic. Okay, I am soliciting someone with CAD skills that could draw up amplifier chassis. Okay, let me tell you the plot I've got going on in my mind here, and so looking for some maybe somebody willing to do something on the side. I'll call it pro bono, or maybe trade it out. Here's what my thoughts are. For the next amplifier that I do build in a series, I thought about getting a stack of chassis made up for it. You know, I've got a local machine shop that would build them if I can get the CAD info out to them. Two, I've got a local powder coating shop. So kind of my thought was I could get one for me to build, and maybe I could order an extra 40 or so and just sell the chassis if any of you guys decided to build the amp as well. I also thought about going back to the single-ended 807 and or KT88 amplifiers and drawing up chassis for them and getting some of those made up. And then as people decided to make that build, you know, they could buy a pre-punched chassis that had all the holes already in it and ready to go. You know, it's one of the big hurdles for people is, you know, maybe they're capable of doing some soldering and wiring up things, but then when it comes to getting into, you know, drilling a chassis out and buying punches and all that, it kind of might be a barrier for them to get there. So just looking with somebody that would do this on their, you know, nights and weekends and partner up with me and would iterate back and forth with me. And, you know, the other side of it, I come out with some CAD drawings, and maybe I trade out some chassis with them or whatnot. And I'm not opposed to paying for this service. I just like for somebody to be doing it with me that has interest and that this means something to them, versus me just going online to one of the crowdsourcing sites and finding a CAD engineer who would certainly do the same kind of work with me at a, you know, fairly low rate, but they would care nothing about the project itself. And I'm all about having passion around the work you do. So if any of you guys are interested, you can find my email online at my website, or it's mw@blueglow.net. Reach out to me and we'll kind of go from there. You guys know I'm still working on this camera. I got some feedback from you guys about, you know, I got a lot of bright light, and some of that is just I have some can lights above me right here, and it shines really bright on my balding head here. But I have been playing around with some settings in the software, and I think like this one's better than when I started the first part of this video series today. I had it default, and then now I'm showing it with some of the brightness turned down. It makes things a little dark, but it's helping. But what I found is this camera I'm using is notorious for being overexposed, and so I'm looking at a new camera for my desktop. It is important to me to be able to have a desktop webcam here, to be able to just sit right in front of you and interact with my PC, show things on the screen, and use this camera, which is very different than when I'm over on the bench using a little higher end setup there. Anyway, I also heard your comments about my mic. If I tap my desk, you guys hear it really loudly. I've got some ideas on that, and I'm going to fix that as well, but stay tuned on that. Keep giving me feedback along the way, though. Topic I thought I'd throw out here, you know, been working on this H.H. Scott 210F amplifier, and me and the owner yesterday were talking on the phone, and one option we discussed for the coupling caps was to go down a path with using paper and oil capacitors, right? And man, have they dried up. I mean, I'll give an example. I was just trying to find common value, 0.022 at 400 volts or higher, 0.047 at 400 volts or higher, and they're getting scarce. Used to be the Russian paper and oil caps you could find really easily. Used to be the Vitamin Qs and other brands like Godman and whatnot, and they're just they're just disappearing. You can still find 100 volt, 200 volt values for lower voltage circuits and whatnot, but boy, the stuff for this tube gear, it's about gone. Wow. I didn't know if I'd see this day this quickly. And maybe this stuff's kind of like toilet paper right now. That's what I'm thinking. They're just people that have hoarded this stuff up. Or maybe it's just that there was a limited supply out there, and over time people have used them because they are really good stuff. And they're sitting in people's amplifiers everywhere, and not in boxes or bins. So I don't know. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Is this a toilet paper situation where these things are out there, they're just being hoarded up, or is it a situation where they've just been all used up? I tend to lean towards the latter, because if it was the former and it was like toilet paper, you would still be able to find them. They would just be super high in price, but that's not what I'm finding. I'm just finding you can't find them. So at any rate, if you got good sources, point me to them. I think I probably exhausted most of them that let me say this, my friend Google and I can't find anymore. I'll just say it that way. And the ones I do find, for whatever reason, just aren't the right exact fit or whatnot. You can still find some of them where one end is a wire, the other end of the capacitor is the chassis, and you got to bolt the chassis of the capacitor. I don't know exactly what you call that style, but there's still some of those floating around out there. But the nice vitamin Qs with two ends coming out of them with the glass hermetically sealed ends. The same with the you can find the green Russian paper and oils, but not the silver ones, and I think the green ones aren't quite as good. So just like to get you guys' thoughts and input on this. Throw some comments down below. Okay, I thought I'd show you a few cool things I've added lately to my website. If you click on blueglow.net and end up here and click on sketches and info, and then scroll down, I put up the bench variac schematic that the individual had used. I got a lot of feedback, by the way, on that video series saying that's not DC. I don't disagree. It'd be nice if you'd strap a full wave rectifier here and maybe a CRC circuit or something to make that some nicer DC. But at any rate, that wasn't what it was really all about. But if you click this link, it'll take you to a PDF you can print out and use. Similarly, this is one I made, and here's a little picture of it. But if you click on this link here, it will take you to this, and this fits on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So I printed out, and I've got it mounted on my wall here beside the bench. But it's just a quick reference for pinouts of tubes. And there are some differences between things, like even within an octal socket, between an EL34 and a 6550 or a KT88 in the way that they're wired up, right? Similarly, there's difference between a 5AR4 and a 5U4. They're similar, but if you'll notice here, the heaters are tied off of the cathodes here on one of those where they're not on the other. And those are subtle nuances that if you don't remember those things, it can bite you. So I just thought this was a handy little tube pinout chart to keep on your bench. And no credit to these. I stole these off the internet from many places and just put them on a single piece of paper for you. Also got a nice little chart here on how to read bumblebee capacitor values if you ever needed that. We've got our audio analyzer dummy load thing up here. We've got slides I had from my bucking transformer, the parts list for the TL50, so on and so forth. A little bit about our bench, how to reform electrolytics, some console amp stuff we've done, links to all the KT88 amplifier, links to the 807 amplifier, just some various stuff we've got out here on this sketches and info page. So just thought I'd show that to you. Recently I made a video on kind of wire cutter shootout, and I did some comparisons, and I was showing you guys these Tronix cutters that I really, really like. At any rate, I ended up with quite a bit of them, and I decided I needed some kind of rack to hold these units. And I ended up picking this up. It's kind of a heavy-duty plastic, and it just sits right on your bench and holds all of your units, and it's got a little handle helpful in sliding it across your bench to you or whatnot. And these things just kind of snap down on there and sit really nicely. I'm super happy with how it turned out. And I got this from American Dental. I will put a link down below. It was originally designed for dental tools, but I just thought, and they had various colors. I kind of like the blue because it matches up with my blue-yellow theme here. But just thought I'd show this to you. I think with shipping, this was about $35. It was about a $20-ish piece, but then shipping turned out to be 15 bucks. But, you know, I invest in stuff for the long haul, and I think this is well worth having on my bench and is going to clean it up nicely and clean up my roundabouts I use for other things really nicely as well. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. And I'm just going to say thanks, everybody. I'm going to call this a wrap at this point. We've hit my magical new 15-minute mark. I'm trying to keep stuff to as much as possible. Some things are just not possible, though. But yeah, I've got a longer list of things for Soapbox Sundays, so you'll be seeing more of these coming to you soon. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you soon.